What's up, guys? Welcome back to GoHamDiscGolf. I'm Big John, and today I'm going to be doing a review on the Prodigy D1 max distance driver. Before I actually get into that, just going to remind you guys, like I did yesterday, about the Prodigy D3 giveaway that we're currently doing. You'll see a pop-up right about here with a picture. Just click on that and it'll take you straight to the video where you can find out how to enter into to win. Now, the Prodigy D1, like I said, is a max distance driver. It's got a very wide rim, and it's a speed 13 disc, and you can expect a lot out of it. Before I tell you what you can pretty much expect out of it, here's a little bit of the technical specs of the disc. It's got a height of 1.9 centimeters, a rim depth of 1.2 centimeters, a rim width of 2.3 centimeters, and it's worth mentioning that that 2.3 centimeter rim width is not the maximum width that's allowed by the pdga. So Prodigy was able to get a speed 13 driver without blowing out the size of the rim. And then the maximum weight for the disc is 174.3 grams. Now, also, this disc is by Prodigy, but if you want to figure out the flight of it by numbers, if you want to use the innova flight scale on this disc, then generally, and this is not exact, but you can expect it to have a speed of 13, a glide of 6, a turn of 0, and a fade of 3. Now, that's just generally, since it's not rated by innova, but that's the kind of numbers we want to, kind of give to it. Now, what is this disc like? Well, some people have compared it to a destroyer from innova, and I can agree with that a little bit. Here, I'll put up some flight charts from Inbounds. Thank you to Inbounds for letting us use this. Here is the innova destroyer, the Latitude 64 Halo, and the discraft nuke OS. Now, as far as a destroyer, I think it does fly very similar to a destroyer, just much longer and maybe a little more stable than that, but about the same amount of glide, maybe a little bit more. As far as a nuke OS, it definitely does. It's not as much of a meat hook as the nuke OS is. They do have similar flight paths, but you'll see a little bit more turn out of the D1 than the nuke OS. And then the Latitude 64 Halo is the one that I feel that the D1 is the most like. They have almost the exact same flight paths. It's just when it gets down to something like that where two discs are so similar, it just goes by the feel of the disc and what you think about it and what you can make the disc do. But that's some of the discs that I think that the Prodigy D1 compares to, for a good amount. Now, as we put this up against the other discs in the Prodigy max distance lineup, you can see the flight charts here about the difference. You've seen the review that we've done on the D2 and the D3. I think that the D1 is so overstable that if you can throw a D2 or a D3 correctly and get a very, a good desired flight path out of them, then I think the D1 will be a good disc for you to have in headwinds. If the D2 or the D3 turns too much, if it turns too much for you, or if it becomes flippy, then I think at that point you should be looking at the D1 to be your straight long distance flyer. Now, the D1 does require a bit of arm. You need to be able to rip this guy out there to get it to do what it's meant to do. So now, having said all that, I'm going to overlay some footage of me and Junior throwing the disc out into a field so you can see what kind of flight paths we got out of it, and I'll tell you what we thought about the disc. First off, and I keep on saying this, I keep on mentioning it, but it's worthwhile saying that the plastic of the Prodigy disc is just so nice. It is a flexible disc, but not so much that, it gets out of control. One thing to mention is that this thing is really grippy. It's got a bit of gumminess to it, and it's almost worth wondering, how is this disc going to perform if you're out playing in 90 to 105 degree weather? If it's sitting in the middle of a fairway with the sun beating on it, is it going to get really, really bendy? Is it still going to hold up? I don't know. That's something to ask, and it's something to try out. But it does have a very good grip. It does come out of the hand really well. And just like all the other Prodigy discs, it just feels so good, and when it rips out, it doesn't take your finger with it like a lot of other new max distance drivers do. Now, as far as the flight path of this guy, it is, it's not, like I said, it's not as much of a meat hook like the nuke OS is, but it does cut hard to the left if you're a right-hand backhand thrower. And when I say that it cuts back to the left, when it starts to fade out, when it starts to slow down, a lot of discs will continue to move forward while cutting off to the left, while fading out. This guy, instead of continuing to move forward for us, it would cut completely to the left as if there was a dog leg there. So that's one thing to remember. If you're not throwing into a headwind, if you're throwing into a tailwind or a situation where there isn't much wind, expect this guy to be going completely to the side once it finishes its flight path. That's kind of what this disc is meant to do. But like I said before, if you're throwing into a headwind, this disc loves the wind. It does not seem to be faded by it. If you throw it into a headwind, you can almost expect to see a little bit of turn out of it before it starts to fade out. But like I said, it does love the wind. This is a great disc for that. Now, do we think that you should go run out and pick up a D1? Well, here's some questions you got to ask yourself. How big is your arm? How well can you throw other speed 13 drivers? If you pick up a nuke, like just a regular nuke, and you throw it, can you get a long straight line out of it? If so, then maybe you should try a D1. If you have already thrown a D2 or a D3, how do those fly for you? Do they turn over and do they get flippy? If they do, try out a D1. But if you've picked up something like a D3 or a D4 and you're having trouble getting it to go straight, then the D1 might just be a little more frustration for you. So ask yourself the right questions, see if the D1 is right for you. Personally, I don't think it's very good for newer players, for beginners, or people who don't have a lot of arm strength. I think, like I said, it would just be more of a frustration to not be able to get to just do what you want it to do. But if you have been playing for a while, or you do have a stronger arm and you're used to getting a lot of distance out of your drives, then the D1 is definitely going to be a good addition to your bag. So that's going to be it for our review of the D1, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let us know if you throw a D1. Don't forget about the current giveaway for the Prodigy D3. We will see you guys tomorrow. Don't forget to go ham.